Hello, good evening. So the topic of this talk will be about how we work to reduce the average time to fill. And so just to give you a little bit of background, NEORIS is originally a Mexican company. It's been in the market since the year 2000, and we have operations in, or prior to this, it was 8 countries. So we are a subsidiary of Cemex, a cement company, and they are a big brand in Mexico. So you can imagine that they are very proud. People look up to work in this company in Mexico. So they decided to embark on a digital transformation, and they, as part of this effort, they wanted to open an office in Prague and another office in India to diversify their talent, right? However, the mission then for us, for NEORIS, was to quickly staff 80 IT positions in Prague. And this also was our first digital transformation project. So we didn't know where we were getting ourselves into, pretty much. So the journey, initial stages were like this. September 2016, the decision was made to open an office in Prague. And we needed to quickly start everything. We didn't have office, legal entity, printer, Wi-Fi, nothing, right? Then November 2016, the legal entity was established, and some people were appointed, a country manager from the US, an operations manager from Mexico, and 2 recruiters. I was living in Spain at the time, and another recruiter from Spain. So no locals, and all wishing to do well in this market, right? Also, we had some initial hires. We had an RPO. We hired an RPO, and however, the hires were through a payroll agency because we didn't have the permits necessary to hire, right, locally. Then, finally, in January 2017, this initial team moved into Prague. So I started traveling more often to Prague, and the country manager, everybody relocated here. The demand for 80 positions arrived almost at the end of December, beginning of January, and the due date was 15th of February. So understanding why this happened is because in Mexico, the notice period is 2 weeks, and it's not really legally enforced. So you can pretty much resign and join the next day another company, and nobody's gonna tell you anything. They might think you're not very professional, but other than that, you're good to go. So it was impossible, right? Based on what we know now of the market, it was very, very impossible, but we engaged with body shopping companies, and they helped fill these 80 positions, right? So finally, February 2017, we got the permit for employment, and the initial brave people that we hired through this third-party company joined as NEORIS employees. Then, in April, we moved into our the new and current office in Smíchov, and approximately 80 people were working for NEORIS plus the business support team. So this is when the recruiting and HR operations really started. And the feedback that we got from client and from our employees was not very good. Actually, very negative, because it was very chaotic, and nobody was really paying attention to the quality of these hires. The interviewers, and I'm gonna explain that next, the profiles were undefined, so we didn't have job descriptions. The project scope and the technologies were not even clear and changing from week to week. The interview process was, this person wants to interview next this person, and this person also wants to make a decision. This person also wants to meet the candidate. So many rounds. And also we had foreigners as technical interviewers, mainly from Latin America. And it's a very different style of recruiting in Latin America than here. Right? So here is all about the candidate experience and nurturing the talent. And there is like, next, I'm not even gonna explain or bother with you. So yeah, it was a very, very stressful time. And also cultural differences in management, right? So here people, as we've learned, want to give an opinion, want to be participate in the decision making. And in Mexico and in Latin America, it's more like I give you an order and you have to comply. So it was also a cultural shock, right? However, so we filled those 80 positions with body shoppers, again, chaotic. And at the end of the year, we ended up filling a total of 178. So pretty much replacing the initial 80 with other people because those were not good fits, plus growing the business support team. The average time to fill based on, well, we also implemented an applicant tracking system at this point in April, so 2017. So it was 85 days, calendar days, which is still really good, but for our company that was not good enough because, again, 2 weeks is normal in other countries for the notice period, right? And we had 3 in-house recruiters at this point, doing everything from the sourcing, engaging the candidates, the interviews, and so on. This started in April 2017. So the feedback, again, we were not tracking the feedback from our candidates so precisely. Of course, we heard them and we tried to talk to people about how to improve this. But Glassdoor is very honest, or a place where people are very honest, and this con is very hurtful was very hurtful for us. How they choose employees and the interview processes, there's a typo there, but it's weak, leading in hiring very low experienced engineers. Ouch. And also in this one, this is an interview review. The interviewer was really rude, and before the end of the interview, he told me that the interview was timed, and so on and so forth. Also, anecdotal and recorded in our applicant tracking system, too many rounds of technical evaluations. Why is everybody interviewing me? Didn't I already prove my worth? The poor experience in interviews. So after, of course, every interview, the local recruiters would call the candidates and say, how did you feel? How did it go? Well, the interviewer was late. The interviewer was distracted I could tell that he was doing something else. And the interviewer interrupted the interview to take a phone call. Wow. So this was, again, very, very painful. Of course, I accepted another offer because you took too long. And I would not refer a friend to NEORIS. Fix your culture. Honest and brutal feedback. Well, we like that. It's fine. So how to improve this, right? And this is a long journey. I'll try to explain it briefly. But first of all, the project. As many of you probably know, sometimes your client doesn't know what they want, and you need to help them discover that. And we realized that this was true even for a big established company doing a digital transformation. So first of all, well, weekly checkpoints with the account managers and the client, agreed upon reports. Talking about reports took like a month and a half, I remember, negotiating what each column of the report is going to say and how and why. So it was interesting and automated from our applicant tracking system in the end. Also anticipate demand and plan for new requirements. And this, again, because of the Latin American management, was a tough sell, right, for them to understand this. Understanding the project structure, what are the teams involved and what are the technologies involved as well. Right? And then, of course, create job descriptions for each role, which was revolutionary for our company, believe it or not. Most other parts of the world operate with job descriptions. We don't. In Latin America, it's like Java, go run, give me a Java developer, but without any further explanation. So it was, again, very nice for us to finally have job descriptions. So also we agreed on an interview process where NEORIS would technically evaluate these candidates with local technical interviewers, with local champions that were appointed to conduct the technical interviews. We talked to them, we coached these interviewers on how to engage with candidates. We explained the situation of the market, and because they were local, most of them, they were local, they understood already, right? That it's not being rude, being late, that's unacceptable. But still we told them, you know, Be nice, explain about the project, explain about the position. Even if you don't think they are a fit, spend the time with this candidate because this is our image in the market, and he or she will talk to friends out there in a bar, and he will say, yeah, NEORIS, avoid that, right? Also, well, we provided tips prior to each interview on best practices for candidate engagement, and we agreed on SLAs for interview schedule and technical feedback. Everybody was busy. This was a big, again, chaotic project, but you need to make time for this. Otherwise, people are not going to be here to help you. It's in your best interests as a technical interviewer to bring good people and spend that time. Also with the client, with the management of the client, well, understand how this project was impacting their structure, because it was also changing, and that's why, for example, bureaucracy and a kind of like power fights, that's why everybody wanted to make an opinion on the candidates. So understanding who's who and for what, who needs to make a decision and who doesn't, that was important. So we agreed on a RACI matrix for the interview process and approvals. So you will see the candidate, but only CV, and we will send you the feedback. You will not actually meet the person, right? And before we were just complying with everything they said, right? Also, SLA for hiring approval. So after I have a technically approved candidate, you're gonna give me a yes or a no within X days, 48 hours or so. And this was pushed from top management all the way to every project manager and every technical lead in the project. So this was a big success, let's say. And communication of actions to improve quality of hires. At the beginning, with this rush to hire, a lot of poor quality, poor quality was all across. So what we are doing to improve the quality was communicated constantly, so they could see that we really wanted to bring good people, right? That was important for us, that they understood that they had our commitment in that, right? We were not just trying to fill positions. And also, at the beginning, they said, okay, great, we opened an office in the Czech Republic, so I want you to bring us only Czech people. Okay, Czech and Slovaks, but that's it. And we're like, yes, but there are not enough people, The market is very competitive. Everybody's looking for these types of front-end developers, middleware developers, and all of this. So we need to bring people from other regions of Europe and maybe even Latin America. But it was a big pushback from the client saying, no, I open an office in Prague. I expect people from Central Europe. So yes, Hungary, yes, Poland, if you can, but nothing else. No Spain, no Portugal, not obviously Latin America, because we have offices there, right? So in the end, we ended up convincing them that they're really, through statistics and through showing them how the market and the unemployment rate was even dropping, that we couldn't staff properly by only looking in Prague, let's say, right? And also it made for a more multicultural environment, which was even better, right? So the culture was not either Mexican or Czech. It was a mix of everything. And then it's easier for people to adjust. And on the recruiters, so this was all about, in the client, in the project. For the recruiters, we really worked hard to understand what it means for a person, or what type of person is happy and successful at NEORIS. We saw that some people were there, they joined us and they said, oh, I love it here. People are so nice. And I don't know, you Latin Americans you're hugging all the time and kissing. That's so cool. And other people were like, oh my God, you're too much. I want to run away. So what are the differences in those people, So we want to attract this kind and see if this other kind could do well, but not necessarily hire them without thinking about that. So we defined the NEORIS behaviors also, because in this environment, you can imagine, and I saw some of your faces at the beginning, there were a lot of changes, a lot of uncertainty, and not everyone is comfortable with that. So if you are not, then probably you wouldn't be happy with us. Then you probably wouldn't be so successful in your job just because of that unhappiness. Whereas if you thrive in that and you love adventure and yes, road trip without any plan, probably you are somebody who would be happy with us. So those behaviors, and in the interviews, in the recruiter interviews, we focused a lot on that cultural fit and trying to ask deeper questions. So when was the last time that there was a big change in your project? How did you feel about that? How did you react? And when was the last time that all of your work went to waste? Oh, you know, and I got super angry and I wanted to punch everyone. Okay, good. So it tells you things about people, of course. And then we had structured interviews training for recruiters last year. And also the recruiters engaged more and more with technical interviewers and hiring managers. So it's not this wall between the recruiter and the technical people, but actually an ongoing conversation and even negotiating the job description, right? Which is ultimately what we want to do. And at the end of last year, we launched a recruitment satisfaction survey. So to understand what impression we were causing, in our candidates. So putting it all together, this is how it was defined. Oof, it's a bit tight there, but so anticipating the demand, really asking the project, you need to send us your requirements 3 or 4 months before your project starts, at least. Not 2 weeks, not 2 months, because that's already late, right? Sourcing, so of course we had that capability in-house of sourcing candidates and proposing candidates, so that would be within 1 to 2 weeks after a job description is confirmed. So not when we see each other in the elevator and you tell me, oh, I need another .NET developer. No, that's not when it starts. It starts when you give me the document with all the description. Then, once I present a candidate, you will interview the candidate within 48 hours, technical interviewer, and you will give me the feedback of that candidate within 24 hours, after the interview. Then we will get a hiring approval within 48 hours of a technical okay. And of course, this is on our side to release the offer within 24 hours. So we really wanted to make it like less than 2 weeks of the whole process since the first candidate engagement, right? To offer. Because, of course, we saw that when we took longer than that, a lot of candidates were getting other offers by companies who were quicker than us. So for this initial part, it was stakeholders understanding the labor market conditions. For the recruiting part or the sourcing part, it was focusing on the cultural fit, and the behaviors, and the technical champions, or that's how we call them, coached on how to engage with candidates. And also this RACI matrix agreed with the client. And these timings, of course, agreed with the client as well, that this is how it's gonna go, and it needs to go if you want these people to really be here in your company or in your project. So then in 2018, we filled less positions than in 2017, but that was because of the demand. But actually it was 53 calendar days. So of course we have a mix of subcontractors and employees, but still it was much quicker because this is natural days. So business days is even much less than 2 months. And with a team of 3.5 recruiters, in-house recruiters, and of course agencies, right? And of course some reassignments, so that was a small percentage. And this candidate feedback survey that we launched at the end of last year. So we want to know how they feel with the whole recruiting process, and then we want to know how they think we are knowledgeable about the company and about the project that we are selling. Also, if we explain to them, we set clear expectations. I like this question, like compared to your previous experience, how would you rate the NEORIS selection process? And actually, I changed this because we are adding this one, which is probably more related to the previous talk, about how likely you are to recommend based on this recruiting process. But of course, it's limited, right? Because after the recruiting process, yes, you could be happy, but you're not going to recommend someone just based on that. It goes further than the recruiting process. So we don't have enough answers to give you charts of every response. But I thought this was very interesting, just with a few responses from, well, the sample in other countries is bigger. The number of hires that we had since the end of 2018 is low. So probably that's why we're still at 10. But I was really happy to see that we had the highest, even with a small sample. With other parts of the world, it's actually I was thinking, okay, it's important to analyze what's happening in Peru, what's happening in Spain, right? And this is important because we're also, with this project, we're also staffing in Mexico and in India. So maybe our candidates in Mexico are not feeling the same kind of love and attention that we're giving the candidates in the Czech Republic. But it's definitely, it helps. It actually helped the whole company to understand how to do recruiting properly and not just kind of like wing it along the way, right? So the feedback from our clients, actually, this was very important because at the beginning they said, your quality is bad, you only want to get money from us, you don't care about our project, at the beginning. Then they said, and they praised they talked to the CHRO and they said, wow, we have amazing people. You've been able to hire very bright minds for this project. So that was for the first time at the end of 2017, and that continued throughout the time. And also in December of last year, there was this NEORIS top management meeting where they recognized that, or said that the NEORIS Czech Republic recruiting team is the best. Sorry, dry mouth. The best in the company. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. And also, something that makes me very proud is that the recruiters won the Practical Visionary Award last year. So they are nominated by their colleagues. So this was the team at the time. Just high quality candidates meeting aggressive targets and high customer service, building a professional image of the company. So we were really happy they were really happy to receive this award. And today, we are around 150 people in Prague. It's the first digital native office for NEORIS, so the first where we hire this type of talent. We have more than 20 nationalities. The Glassdoor reviews for the Prague office is 4.4, which is the highest in NEORIS. We're averaging 3 for the whole company. And we became profitable in less than 2 years, which was also, of course, this was a big investment for the company, and it became profitable in the middle of 2018 and continues to be. So, děkuji. Thank you very much for your attention.
I have a quick question, and it doesn't really have to do with the recruitment process itself, but I was really surprised when you said that the management didn't want any internationals here in Prague and that they wanted really Czechs and Slovaks. Was it a cost issue, or why, or if a Mexican wants to come here on a local payroll, why, I'm surprised with CEMEX, with a company that's famous for its culture and is international, to be saying this or to be making decisions like this and wanting only a certain nationality.
Yes, so it had to do a lot with why they decided to open an office here, which was there's a lot of high-skilled people readily available and at affordable prices. So the readily available part, probably not so much, but that's what they thought, and so that's why they said no. Then we only want local people. Then a little bit of cost, of course, because then you need to pay relocation package even from Slovakia to Prague, or much more Spain or Portugal to Prague. And also for Latin America, it means the work permit, it means a higher relocation package, but then ultimately the cultural assimilation will be easier for sure, which is what ended up happening. So that was it. But then they agreed, and they're happy to have many nationalities in the office. Yes.
Hi, I just want to ask you about the time to hire. It means like time to start or time
Yes.
to sending the offer.
Time to start.
It's a really good result, like 53 days. It's really
Yeah,
good.
and the
how
company
did you,
wasn't that happy still.
How did you manage that? Because there is like 2 months notice period. So how did you manage it?
A lot of people were able to negotiate their notice period with their employers. In some cases, we had positions that were more fresh grads. So of course that also helped. And this is a mix of the subcontractors and employees. But the thing is that also one of the feedback, or part of the feedback that we got is, okay, employees are great, contractors not so much. So we started evaluating every candidate, no matter the source, the same way. And so that's probably also why, the mix of employees and contractors.
I see. And the majority was the IT guys, right? The developers.
Yes, if few business support positions, but it's mostly business analysts, front-end developers, QAs, .NET developers, project managers, and so on. Yeah.
Thanks. Great work.
Thanks.
Ještě někdo?
You've done an impressive work, and I have 2 questions actually. One is what are your main sources, main channels of candidates?
Mm-hmm.
And the second is, what are your current challenges in recruitment? Are they still the same or they changed?
Okay, great. Thank you. So main sources, probably say the usual suspects: LinkedIn, Recruiter, jobs.cz, referrals, although, so it increased, not so much, but we are getting more referrals. I think we fixed our culture in a way. Yeah, that's pretty much. And of course, sometimes, again, subcontracting agencies. And the challenges, so as I was putting this together, I thought, wow, this looks so nice and so ideal. And it was for a while when everybody was, their eyes fully focused on the project. But then it started to slip a little bit here and there, so taking longer for the approval, taking longer for the interview. And so getting all that attention back to, this is how it needs to be. That's part of the challenge. And the people, I think in general, people are happy at the company, but there are some internal challenges. Well, yes, for example, and I recently saw the latest Glassdoor review. It said, like, great company, great people, no training. So no growth. And so that's pretty much a dead end, right? So then that's making it harder for us to recruit, making it harder for us to retain. So we're really focusing on how to provide training for our people so they don't leave, and we don't have this name of, oh yes, it will be good until you're stuck doing the same thing forever. Yeah. So listening to that constantly, so it helps with recruiting.
And what's the current ratio of contractors and employees?
It's around 80 something employees and 70, 60 something contractors. Yes, so a bit like 60-40. And at the beginning it was 30% employees, 70% contractors. So that was one of the goals as well, to reverse that. Yes.
I'm interested in the assessment of culture fit. How do you evaluate it?
So, yes, we defined, again, we were thinking really hard, HR recruiters, on what are these people that are successful and happy have in common. So it's people that are, for example, open to change. They, of course, enjoy international environments. They even want this. They want to work for a company that's not even European, right, in origin. So then during the evaluation of candidates, for example, if you've traveled throughout Latin America, you had this big long trip, yay, probably you're one of us. Or maybe you speak a bit of Spanish, or you've lived in Spain, you went to do Erasmus in Spain. So those things would help. And also, again, asking questions about how they reacted to change, how they handle frustration, how they... it really seemed sometimes like, okay, let's not make it look so adverse that people will be scared during the interview, but we really want to push them to see how they would be in this environment, and where there are changes every day, where work on this, and then the next day, no, don't work on this, work on this other thing, and so on. And also it's a lot of young people, so I think it's, I mean, mixed, right? But mostly I think our average age is around 26 or 28 years old. So it's a pretty young crowd. I think people are more open to changes and to this uncertainty when we're younger than when we're older, right? When we're older, we want things to be more stable. So those are some things that we would ask or we would check during the interview. Yes.
Ještě někdo nějaký dotaz?
So I have one question. Are there some benefits what you can offer as international company, like business trips to Latin America, to another branches, and things like this? And was it recognized by your employees as a benefit? Was it valuable for them?
Okay, so not everyone gets international travel. Depending on the team. Actually, there are a few teams that are all travel, like 90% travel, because they are implementing SAP in different regions of Europe and North Africa. So since the beginning, they were Egypt, Israel, and then, well, actually they had the Czech Republic implementation, but Germany, Poland, and so on. So it was mostly travel. And they are, I think, one of the happiest teams, because most of them are young and they signed up for this precisely for the travel. Most of the people that have traveled are in the architect or senior position within development or project managers, and the feedback was really good. They loved going to Mexico. They loved the food, the drinks, the people. Yes, I was even asking them, like, did you go dancing? No, not yet. Okay, maybe next time. But yeah, I think they actually, I was surprised, right? I was a bit scared of, ooh, what did you think of Mexico? But they loved it in general. The feedback I got from them, and without asking, they offered this feedback, was that it was really a good experience. And actually also the people that are leaving, that's surprising. They are saying like, well, I'm leaving because of X, Y, Z, but I'm really gonna miss you guys. There's not another place like this, Again, the parties, the hugging, the kisses, I guess it's different. I mean, I don't see it, I'm Mexican, but yes, that's surprising to hear for me as well. Thank you very much.